Well, it's been a minute. I apologize for it being so long since I've updated a video for you guys. Got over 4,000 miles on the bike now, took a trip, and been working a lot, so I apologize. It is August, almost into September right now. Well, obviously you guys know that because I've uploaded it. So what I'm going to do is talk about the good, the bad, after I talk about what I've actually done to the bike so far. So this is an update on the aftermarket stuff. I'll do individual videos later on the parts, but for right now, just want to hit everything, get you guys a video quick and easy. And since I did the video, I think I did a quick walk around on the bike. If you want to look here, I did the Screaming Eagle big intake. I think I already had the Tour Pack, but what I did not put on there is the Tour Pack has the quick releases, and anybody can come up and just steal your Tour Pack. There's $3,000 gone. So what I did was I believe they're from Harley, the locks for the quick releases. Again, I'm going to do a whole video on that alone and show you how it actually operates and everything. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, it's a pain in the butt. I had to use a rubber mallet to get them to lock. Is it worth it? I don't know, to be honest. If I could have gotten the Tour Pack that's just a solid mount where everything bolts in and you can't just take it off quickly, I think I would have rather to do that, because I'm not really going to take this off. I use it too much. So in hindsight, looking at it, I think I would have ordered just the regular mounts for the Tour Pack and not the quick release. So, but it is what it is. I got the locks on there. It's locked up. If I want to take it off, I can. So I guess for maintenance and cleaning and whatnot, that's kind of nice for just, taking it off. We got the Chromeworks slanted exhaust, and I do not have baffles in it. I think I did not tell you guys that the last time we were going over the exhaust. There is no baffles. I get that the back pressure may be a little less. It sounds way better than with the baffles in, and it's much deeper and much louder. And so I'm going to talk about the exhaust in a minute. But other than that, the normal, or not the normal, but the touring windshield, the touring Harley seat, along with the matching backrest for my wife, and the matching passenger foot rails that match the front. So everything is just one big piece. I realized that, by the way, for you, I don't know if anybody's ever thought about this. My previous bike was a Road Glide Limited, and MSRP on that bike to resell is what it would be for a Limited. Anybody who does what I did and buys the bike, orders it with all of the parts, and finances it, you're immediately upside down by a lot, because you're adding, between the seat, the windshield, all of that, and installation, you're talking well over $4,000, almost $5,000 for everything. And you're immediately upside down. And not to mention adding tire and wheel warranty, which, by the way, I recommend. It's saved me and my dad quite a lot. You start adding everything in, and now you have, let's just say you bought the bike with no markup. Which, by the way, I found out I did have a markup. I thought we were getting employee discount, and I did not. Let's say you trade a bike in, and that bike, let's say you owe $1,000 or $2,000 on it. You add that in. Next thing you know, you are way over on the bike. Only reason why I did it is because I was running out of my factory warranty. I wanted with my wife working at Harley, I wanted to have the newest thing to enjoy, because we do a lot of motorcycle stuff with the family, and I thought, well, why not? If I'm keeping this for a long time, why not? In 2 years, when the warranty runs out on here, I'll get the aftermarket warranty and we'll be good to go. So that was just a personal decision, and I know, again, financially what I did, but I don't plan on getting rid of it. And that's why I did all of the highest quality parts that I could, because, again, I'm keeping this for a long time, not going cheap on anything. By the way, speaking of the intake, let me sit back up. My knees are hurting. With the intake, I also had to do, obviously, the Screaming Eagle intake. The Screaming Eagle tuner. And again, if y'all want to see a video on that, I could probably do a video showing you the operation of that with the app and everything. But there's other videos of that. I'm not going to be necessarily a parts reviewer. I'm not going to be trying with this channel. I don't want to just be like, hey, look, here's the new part I got. I'm going to be showing you us riding it, us actually doing durability tests. I actually want to do a really in-depth detailing video. I have it down pat. I'm like the cruise detailing guy for all of our bikes. So I'll do a video on that. I want to do practical things. Not that I'm not going to do, a brand deal or something like that down in the future. And I'll get to a recommendation here in a little bit. But when it comes to all the parts, I wanted to do the best, build this bike like an OEM plus. So I want to do an OEM plus build, and something that, again, is going to be durable. It's going to last a long time, no cheap stuff. So that's essentially all I've done on the bike. Got 4,000 miles. So the things I like about it, let's go over that real quick. First, number one thing I like about this bike compared to my 21 Road Glide Limited, it feels way lighter. It feels like it's at least 100 to 200 pounds lighter. It does. Even with my wife on it and all of her gear on the bike, I can still pick it up much, much easier than my 21 Road Glide. It doesn't feel like I'm going to drop it. And again, I'm not a weak person by no means, but the other bike just felt very top heavy, and it was nice once you get the bike moving and you were cruising. My 21 was very, very stable on the road, in winds and everything. But anytime you're doing slow maneuvers and you needed to do an emergency stop or whatever, and you may be in a curve with a bunch of other people and they stop in front of you and you may be leaned over and trying to hold the bike, it was always nerve-wracking because I wasn't ever sure if I was going to drop it or not. Whereas this, I don't feel like that at all. It feels very good, very planted. Maneuvering in town feels wonderful. It actually feels really fast and agile. The way that they tune the suspension and everything has been awesome. Speaking of which, my bike, and I did not realize this when we did the original video, I talked about a high-speed wobble. I didn't realize that the adjustable back suspension was not adjusted at all. It was at 0. So, my wife and I bottomed out multiple times on our first ride together, didn't realize that it wasn't set up. And that's something that I really didn't have to do on my Road Glide Limited. It was set up for 2 people. Whereas this had absolutely no preload on it, no nothing. So once I adjusted that, and I did it on the trip to the Smoky Mountains. We did a 2,000-mile road trip to the Smoky Mountains, and I did its main adjustment before we went, and then I did a couple extra adjustments once we were up there. It was great, and again, I can do a video on that, or if y'all have questions, just comment in the video, and I'll try to do my best to get with y'all. That took away a lot of the kind of that high-speed instability. It's still there like any Harley is. You get kind of a little bit of a wobble at 100 plus miles an hour in a curve. You get a little bit of a wobble, but that's just all Harleys are like that. And so it is not any worse than my other Harley is now. So that's a really good thing. And I don't have the Clockworks windshield, which would add downforce to the front of the bike and make it more stable at high speeds as well. So once I add that, maybe do a couple other little tweaks to it, I think it'll be dialed. And again, most of you are not running over 100 miles an hour in a corner. That's not even a concern. So going up there, so back to the things I really like about it, the modes. So my dad and I ride tandem next to each other 90% of the time. Having the adjustable modes where I can have, on the trip, I had basically my throttle at a normal position, or even slightly less. There's actually a lot of times where I put it in rain mode because, by the way, the modes do change the power output of your engine. So I put it in rain mode to conserve a little bit of fuel. And it made my throttle real soft. And being that most of the time I wasn't using cruise, so I could adjust my throttle and stay completely level with my dad, that made it a lot easier. And then when I wanted to get on it, tap the button twice, kick myself up into sport or my custom mode, and then we're off to the races so you could go have fun. I really like that part a lot. Just to be able to change your dynamics on the bike is amazing. I will give you a warning. I don't think anybody has mentioned this. In sport mode, it reduces your ABS. I did not know that when I first got this bike, and I almost ran into the back of a car on the interstate. Everybody slammed on their brakes. I'm doing a good 80 miles an hour and look up and go, oh, wow, they're stopping pretty fast. So I hit my brakes, and back end is sliding all around. And so I do my pulsing of the brakes like the ABS would, and eventually get the bike to stop. But I almost ran into the back of a car. And it's not because I'm an idiot. It's because the ABS was turned off towards the back. And so just let you know, if you're playing around in sport mode and you're having fun with the throttle and all the extra power, what I did was I made my custom mode full race everything, full power, full throttle to have a good time. But I put my ABS on normal. So that way, God forbid, if you're having fun, you're at excessive speeds and you need to hit the brakes, you'll actually stop. So just FYI. My wife said it's almost as comfortable as our Road Glide Limited. She said that felt a little bit more comfortable to her, even though I have the same seat and backrest as we did on the other bike. Obviously, it doesn't have the speakers, but I mean, it's the same height, same everything. I think what she's feeling is the suspension on this bike is a little tighter and a little bit, again, to give that more agile feeling. It's not as big and cushy as the other bike was. I think that's what she's feeling. But other than that, I mean, she rode with me 1,000 miles up in the mountains, and then 500 miles all the way back. Going up, she went with my mom and our friend in the car, so they didn't have to deal with the rain. But on the way back, she rode with me and had no problems, but didn't feel bad at all. So good news there. So her feet were fine. So again, no complaints there. The exhaust, so that's about everything that I can think of what I really, really like with the bike. So let me go over the hurdles I've had on this bike. I recently had, and this was before our trip, for whatever reason, actually take that back. I didn't have any necessarily issues other than my trip counter and gas mileage. When we went up on the trip, I would zero trip A every time we got fuel, so I kind of knew what my miles was. And then trip B was our overall miles for the trip. And just so I could kind of keep track of what we did when we got back to the house. Well, I noticed that every time we'd get fuel, I'd re-zero it. And every, 3-4 fill-ups, every 3 fill-ups or so, the trip would say 100 miles per gallon, and the miles seemed like it stopped counting or something. and the mile, yeah, I think that's what it was, is the miles, it almost like it was paused at some point and then it started back up again, and it wasn't as many miles as it should have been. And then the average miles per gallon was showing 99.9 miles per gallon, which is, impossible. And it kept screwing up my trip when it came to the miles and the gas mileage. So it did it about 3 or 4 times on the trip. And again, why that happened, I'm not really sure. But here's what we did do is when I came home, I put in the bike in the garage. Stays at my parents' house. So our apartment doesn't have a garage, and right now I have a beater car that I drive to work, so I don't have to ride it every day. And so put it in the garage, left it for 2 weeks. I came back, wanted to go and smoke some cigars with my buddies. Came to get my bike, and it wouldn't start. Like, it turned on, but it clicked like the battery was dead. I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. It wasn't like it was left on. It wasn't touched. Nothing was. I don't get it. There's no add-ons, no extra wires like it could have had a residual draw on the battery. Nothing. And so, and it sat before for 2 weeks and had no problems. So we put it on Tinder for like 30 minutes, and it tried, but still didn't have enough juice to start. So I had to leave it. My dad put it on, left it for overnight and into the next day, and it finally cranked. And I don't remember necessarily. I think I went on a ride after that and didn't necessarily have a problem. But I had, and I can't remember at this point what else happened. I don't know if the trip thing happened again. So I brought it to our Harley dealership and put it in the shop, and I told them what was going on. They said they've had newer bikes with electrical issues, but the mechanic said, listen, man, we really don't know what to do with these things. And so he's like, we'll see if there's maybe a software update. So one of the things that the mechanic told me is that the screen, what you see on the screen in error codes, is not necessarily what it's showing in the ECM or the BCM. And he's like, it's very confusing. At least that's what he told me. Now, maybe he don't even know what he's talking. I don't know, but he's one of their top mechanics. So let's just go with it that we got to trust him. And he said, so the codes there are not necessarily the codes here. It's 2 different systems. He said he hates this new electronic screen. It's been making their life hell. And so he's like, let me see if there's updates. So there was some software updates. Well, he hooked up the computer, went through the steps, and it said low voltage. It wouldn't take it. Low voltage. Well, he tested the battery, and he's like, well, the battery's showing fine. He started the bike. The bike was showing, it was charging. No real issues there. So turned off the bike, tried it again, and he tried it, I would say, at least 5 times, and it kept doing the same thing over and over again. So I said, hey, I'm going to leave it with you. Y'all figure it out. So when I came back in town the following week, called him, and he said, we got it to take, but we had to keep it on Tinder all night and then keep it plugged up to the Tinder while we were doing the update. And it took. And they're thinking that the voltage has to be absolutely perfect for the system to take updates. And he's thinking that some of these issues could be that if the computer senses even the slightest, increase or decrease in voltage, that it'll just shut the whole thing off or not allow it to work. And it kind of almost like their safety protocol is too tight. And that they need to give it a little bit more leeway for things to kind of move up and down if it's sitting for a little while and the battery's just a little lower than normal. But regardless, you would think after I took it for a ride, we had it on the Tinder for an entire night and next day, that it would have been fine, but it wasn't. So, I just watched another video of a guy, a younger gentleman about my age, that has a white Road Glide, and he had an issue with that whole no start issue. And long story short, they found that it was some sort of a crankcase sensor wiring problem but it was in the wiring harness, and that Harley said replace the whole harness. So he did, and as up to my own knowledge of watching his recent video, I think it fixed it. And so, you know, listen, it's a new bike. It's a brand new platform. We know we're going to go through issues. Yes. Is it a little disconcerting? Yes. Would I recommend you buy a bike without a warranty? No, not at all. It's not worth it right now. The things have not been ironed out. I mean, we talk 4 years later down the line, then yeah, I would say, okay, that's cool. But right now, absolutely not. Things are just not ironed out like they need to be. And so, you know, but hey, as long as you have a warranty and it's their freaking problem, then by all means, fine. I will tell you though, hold on, let me make sure my phone is still recording. Yes, it is. I will tell you this, for if my wife's car breaks, right, take it to the dealership and they're like, hey, we're gonna have it for an X amount of time. We'll give you a rental car, right? And that way you have wheels. So you don't just leave your car there and they don't do anything for you. Obviously, they give you a rental car and you go on about your way. The insurance takes care of it. Why Harley doesn't do this for their employees? Again, I had my bike originally, my first bike. Well, that technically was my second, but no, actually, I take that back. Both my actual first Harley, which was a Sportster 1200 Custom 2007, and my first bagger, which was a 2016 Road Glide Special. That was my daily driver, and so was my 21 Road Glide Limited. And if it wouldn't be for my little beater car I got, I would have to be riding this every day. And so if I don't have it, and they don't give me the ability, insurance don't take care of a rental bike for me, that's pretty screwed up, and it's something that nobody's really talking about. I really wish they would have the decency to say, here, take one of our rental bikes so you have something to get back and forth to work while we have your bike in the shop and get it fixed up. That's just one of my complaints about the dealership that I wish, you know, for those of us that actually ride every day, they should take care of us. And that's one of the reasons why I kept getting new bikes, is because I needed a good warranty and hopefully nothing go wrong, because my 2016 was used and I was having problems, and that's a whole nother story. I hopefully in the next couple of months I can actually give you all the full details on my experience with a certain dealership, but right now I don't want to. And so anyways, you know, buying a brand new bike and it being a factory problem, where I can even call the factory and with customer service and get them to start handling it like some other people have done. That gives me some peace of mind. So anyways, I believe that realistically, I think that's the only thing I haven't liked about this bike. Yeah, I really can't think of anything else that I don't like. The bars are awesome, way better than the original. Lights are great. Braking is great. So I'll tell you, if you guys are wondering how did it do up in the mountains, we went on the Dragon's Tail. It did amazing. If I have a clip, listen, with working 6 days a week, you know, anywhere from 60 to 70 plus hours, you know, where I'm tired and I just don't have a whole lot of time to try to sit here and record and edit. And that's honestly why I haven't made a video, is because when I do this and finish and go home, I need to sit here and edit it and make it look good for you guys. And I just don't want to give a bad product. And so unfortunately, I just haven't uploaded a whole lot. And I apologize about that, but you know, it is what it is, life. But anyway, so when we took it up to the Dragon's Tail, let me tell you something. This thing freaking ate, okay? It did amazing. It's definitely able to corner harder than the rest of my family and their bikes. It definitely has a little bit more lean angle, and obviously when I was leaning I would scrape my foot pegs, but I rarely scraped my foot pegs, which is interesting because my 21 I scraped almost every corner. Y'all can go back in my channel and watch my 21 Road Glide on the Dragon's Tail last year. and you can hear me scrape almost every corner. This bike, I rarely scraped. So that's pretty cool. And obviously you can upgrade the floorboards where they're raised and thinner, and you can lean over even further. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't do that, because when you hit the floorboards, at least you know that you're at the limit, but not to the point where you're gonna low side and crash. So I like keeping it right there because it's a good safe. As soon as I feel my feet hit, okay, we're good. And I can't go anymore, but at least I'm all right. Whereas if you raise it up anymore and then you scrape, bro, you're probably gonna crash. So I don't want to play around with that, especially with such an expensive bike. But the brakes did amazing. Transmission and the gearing is pretty much the same. It did great. The engine, I mean, running the living piss out of it in the mountains, never got hot. And I will tell you, running this bike as is with the stock headers, I have not once put my foot down and felt heat coming up from the engine. I mean, you obviously feel a little bit, but not much. My 21 Road Glide, after running it through the mountains or just on a hot day, you would come to a stop and you just had heat just eating you up. It was horrible. This bike runs a lot cooler. And here again, that's another reason why I like having the new bike, is it runs cooler by a lot, like a noticeable amount. And so for me as the rider on a hot day, it hasn't been so exhausting. Whereas on my 21, I honestly, when it was over 100 degrees, 95 and 100 degrees or more, I didn't want to ride, because the heat from the engine plus everything else just made me feel like I'm having a heat stroke. So that's another thing I really like about this bike. And again, the modes, the screen, I really haven't changed the screen to the simple, speedometer and tach, and then your information in the middle. I haven't really modified it more than that. I do not have the GPS on this either. I didn't buy the GPS. I will eventually, unless I get an Apple phone, and then you can do Apple CarPlay. But right now I have an Android, so unless I change that, I don't know. Or I get a phone mount where I can use my GPS. Okay. So the other thing I've done is, jamming out to music. A lot of times, the old bike, we'd have a plug-in for, charging up your phones and stuff on the left-hand side. This doesn't have it. However, I've used the cord in here to plug up my phone, and it's kept it fully charged, no problems whatsoever. So, again, going on long trips and you're jamming out to your music and using your GPS, no problems at all. And again, my touring, the 21 Limited, had and eventually I'm probably going to add one, a cigarette lighter plug-in in the trunk, and I would usually have a little charger for either my headset or my drone, that when I had it, or other stuff like that. I'd have things charging in the back, or my wife's phone, plug it up in there. It doesn't have that anymore, but to be honest with you, what I did on this trip was I bought one of those what's those Anker makes really good chargers and cables. I got an Anker charger, and we threw that in the back, and every day when we'd come home, I would just plug it up in the hotel and recharge it for the next day, and we just used that to charge up our stuff, and it was totally fine. So I had my phone plugged up here, her phone, if she needed it, was plugged up in there. Everything was totally fine. We didn't have any issues. Gas mileage, I think it's running about 40 to 42 miles per gallon is what the average is. Running 80. And I to be honest with you, it's been 38 to 40, running way past 80 for a while all around town. So booking it seems to still get decent fuel mileage. I did notice about 2 miles per gallon more, and I think I was able to get 45 miles per gallon on the trip when I put it in rain mode. So everything was just, a lot softer. But it didn't really change it all that much. Just something else to think about. And I'm trying to think of anything else with the bike. Does great in the rain. Intake sounds awesome. When you're full throttle, you can hear it sucking air, and the intake manifold sound, like a gurgling sound coming from it. It's awesome. And by the way, it does not impair. I'm right at 6 feet, 5'11", 6 foot, and it does not hit my knee is resting up against it, but it's not in my way of my knee at all. And so I've had no issues with this being uncomfortable for me. So the intake has been phenomenal. So honestly, guys, I think that's about all the updates that I can think of with this bike. The tires, the stock tires did good, especially considering how fast we ran the Dragon's Tail, and that was with the new pavement, and it did pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Michelin's. It does not grip as good as Michelin's. It's done okay in the rain. However, I feel like my Michelin's on my other bike did better, but it's done good. So, it is what it is. And I think that's about everything good and bad I can think on with this bike. And so I'm about to get my 5,000 mile oil change here soon, and then I'm going to start doing it every 2,500 miles just to keep everything extra crisp in there. And really, truly, money's tight right now, obviously, for everybody. So I'm going to be changing the license plate holder to something smoother and cleaner here, hopefully relatively soon. Maybe change the grips or something little. Some highway pegs, maybe. I do want a backrest. So I had backrest on my old bike, and I didn't on here, and I definitely missed it. And so that will be something I'll be buying at some point, is the backrest and some highway pegs. But other than that, I mean, the bike is totally fine as is. The pipes are great. They sound great. I'm going to try, by the way, when I finish this video, to take a recording with this mic, and hopefully y'all can hear it a little bit better, and the depth of the sound and the growl. The only thing, so this is going to be a little shout out to Tab Performance, and I emailed them. I would really love to actually partner up with them, and I'm going to tell you why. I miss my 21 Road Glide. It was cammed, but it had stock headers, and I had originally Vance & Hines high output exhaust, and it sounded good on full throttle, but it sounded kind of like a Porsche, like real smooth, just smooth sound, deep smooth, but it was very quiet. These pipes are much louder than that. Again, I'm not using any baffles because with baffles it was still too quiet, and it sounds amazing, but on my other bike, I realized people were pulling out in front of me. People were coming in my lane, and I needed to do something for my safety. And so when I was looking up exhaust, obviously everybody knows about Tab Performance. Sorry, it's a dryer, if you can hear that. All right, sorry about that. Everybody knows about Tab Performance with the zombie baffles. And let me tell you something. When I got those pipes, they were awesome. I put it on in the rain, and I don't know if I can find that video or not and show you guys. Eventually I will. It's hilarious. I'm soaking wet. My wife is recording me. I started up for the first time, and my face is just lit up, And with the stock headers, that bike was so loud that you could hear me a good block or more cruising. You could hear me cruising a block down from the road. That's how loud it was. And so what it translated was, when I was leaving work early in the morning or coming home usually really late at night, and people are just kind of in their own world, they actually heard me and would get out my way, or they would put on their blinker and immediately turn their blinker off because they realized that I was coming up on them. Whereas when I had the Vance & Hines high output exhaust, I had people pulling out in front of me all the time. And, if you wanted to crack on it, still didn't matter because it was still too quiet. And so, guys, any of you who, and so I'm getting with this bike, is it does sound good, and it's almost there. I think these pipes, if we were to get the headers and get it cammed, I think it would be perfect. I think it would be absolutely perfect. The sound level would be just right. And cracking on it would be enough to wake people up. But so again, it's not that the exhaust is bad. It's not. It's not bad. But for someone like me or any of you guys who are actually riding this in a big city all the time, I don't feel like it's quite enough. And in my opinion, and they're not a sponsor right now, but I'm going to tell you right now, please, for your safety, please go and get the Tab Performance 4.5-inch exhaust BAM sticks with the zombie baffles. Or, if you want the bigger look, go with the 50 cals. They're still the same pipes in the sense of, the sound. But get the 50 cals and put on the zombie baffles, and it will keep you safe. It is worth it. Not to mention, when I go ride my cousin's bikes, that are rat-rotted Sportsters and whatnot, they just sound mean. They sound alive. When you crack it, it's there. You kind of, that typical, stereotypical Harley sound. Whereas this, it's like an OEM plus. Like, I would say this is really good build if I wasn't necessarily riding it as much as I did, and I just wanted a really clean build. This is perfect. And again, if I did the cams and the headers, then it would be up to the loudness I would really need to feel more safe. But I'm telling you right now, go get the Tab Performance exhaust. You'll thank me for it. Yes, is it loud? Absolutely. When you're cranking it up first thing in the morning, is it loud? Yes, it is. But I will tell you this. If you baby the throttle and you just barely get out your neighborhood, you can actually stay quiet. It still is loud at idle, unbelievably loud. But if you just barely touch the throttle and get out of your neighborhood, you can get out without waking everybody up and being a jerk. So it is possible. And here's the cool thing as well, is let's say you get those pipes and you go, oh my gosh, it's too loud. Well, you can put just one baffled baffle in one of the pipes and quiet it down. Some guys are doing one baffle, one zombie baffle, and one normal baffle. I just heard a guy who has no baffles like what I'm doing, and it takes some of that raspiness away. And to be honest, if I can get my hands on a pair, I may do that and do sound comparison test. I don't know how that works with back pressure, if it really kills it or not. I don't know. But I would personally recommend that if you're going to ride as much as I do in the city at night, early in the morning, get yourself some of those pipes. You'll thank me for it, and it'll keep you safe. But back to these pipes, if you don't care about that and you want a really good, clean sound that's loud enough, and you have the stock head pipe, then Chromeworks is phenomenal. It really, really sounds amazing. So like I said, when we finish up this video, I'm going to try to do a quick, like a YouTube short, and or I'll make a YouTube short out of it and upload it, and hopefully the sound is better. So anyways, love you guys. Thank you for, all of you that wrote comments. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry that I haven't got a chance to reply to everything, and I need to do better about that. Again, I'm a car hauler on the road, working every day. And so if I don't get back to you, it's not like I'm just ignoring you. I'm going to try to do a little bit better about that. But that's all the updates I have for you right now. Again, Tab Performance, if you hear this and you want to send me some new pipes for this bike, I will gladly rock it. But and like I told you guys, even if it's not a paid sponsor or nothing, they haven't gotten back with me just yet, so there's nothing connected to us. I still recommend them. They really truly made me feel safe riding, and it's worth it. So anyways, I hope you guys liked it. And next weekend, so what is this, the first weekend of September, we're going for a ride. So maybe I'll try to do a little GoPro action, film us doing a ride, and with my parents and one of our friends, his wife. I don't know if my wife can make it, but hopefully she can. And yeah, so I'll try to do a little ride action video. So love you guys. God bless you. See you later.